Hey, what's up, guys? Now, today we're on week two of updates of my business and giving you guys overall Amazon and e commerce industry news. So, for the past week, from Sunday to Thursday, I was in Las Vegas for a trade show. If you haven't already checked out my last YouTube video, go ahead and check that out where I share with you guys all of my best tips and tricks on how to crush it at your next trade show. These are kind of things that I've learned over the past year or so of going to trade shows, and so I give you all of my greatest hits there on what I do to have and what I've done to find success at trade shows. Trade shows are such a big thing for my business now. I found so much success in opening up new accounts with brands directly and with distributors. The reason why trade shows are such a good source for us e-commerce sellers, specifically if you're in wholesale, is because it's generally easier to open accounts at a trade show. You know, these trade shows are for industry people, and your mere action of showing up kind of shows that you're a more serious player in the space. And so I think most people kind of have their guards a little bit lower down. And so they're not always just questioning if you're going to sell on Amazon. But if you just show up, they'll say, yeah, sure, why not open an account right now? And you can open an account literally on the floor. And you can also place POs immediately on the floor as well. So it's a great way to scout out and meet brands, but also a lot of these smaller brands that are kind of coming out into the space. Trade shows are their way to begin introducing their brand to bigger sellers. And so, if you're looking to do any sort of brand exclusive deal with any newer brands, trade shows are a great place to go find them. And then also, in addition to that, trade shows typically have pretty good discounts for people who place POs during a certain duration that the trade show lies in. So, for example, the trade show that I went to, pretty much every brand that was there had a trade show discount, and the discount would last until end of this week, which is now today, Friday. In this specific trade show that I went to, I found a little bit of success, and I want to say a little bit because I don't want to, overinflate my expectations. But I did end up opening 3 accounts with new brands, and I also placed 2 POs on the floor itself. So the value of the entire of both POs collectively was $4,000, which is obviously not a big PO by any means. Typically, the bigger POs that I place would be done, once I've done more due diligence and I've done a couple test orders. But for me, I wanted to place, a smaller $4,000 PO on the floor just to kind of get my foot in the door, to build that relationship and to kind of get the ball rolling. As I said before, opening accounts is super easy on the floor. You just give them your business card or they'll scan your badge and they can just create your account right there on the spot. So you don't really have to go through all the same, checks that normally happen when you cold call or email brands or distributors. Interestingly, each of the trade shows that I've been to this year in 2025, everyone who's been exhibiting at the trade shows have told me that this year is slower than the previous year, which was slower than the year before that, which is kind of interesting. And it made me kind of want to look into that a little bit more and figure out why the overall sentiment is shifting perhaps away from trade shows. And so I did a little bit of research on this, and kind of here's what I came up with. The first thing, I guess, is the context of where we are relative to where we were before. And so before COVID, trade shows were booming. Everyone was flying out. There was a lot of money to spend to be able to not only pay for the flights to the show, but also to pay for the hotel fares as well. But in the post-COVID world, behaviors have definitely shifted. People have kind of gotten used to doing interactions through digital meetings, through Zoom and whatnot. And so a lot of the interactions now are just done digitally as opposed to being done in person. But in addition to that, we all know that travel costs have risen substantially in the post-COVID world. Flight costs are extremely expensive, as are hotel costs. And so that oftentimes means that sometimes both retailers and exhibitors no longer kind of see value in going to these trade shows. And then finally, there's a lot of economic uncertainty. And so, kind of what we've seen in the past 6, 7 months with threats of tariffs or even tariffs being implemented, a lot of people are kind of holding on to their purses more tightly. They're less likely to want to swipe the credit card and to make these large purchases because there's a lot of fear and uncertainty in what the economic condition will look like moving forward and if tariffs will cause a huge drawdown in consumer purchasing power. The second thing that I've been dealing with in my business is dealing with massive regates across the board. And not only have I been regated on countless products, but I've also been restricted from even being able to apply to ungate for them. That's been a huge problem. I haven't seen too many people talk about it on social media and in my network, but a couple of my closer friends who are in the network with me, we have phone calls every month, and they told me that they were also getting gated on a lot of products as well. So seems like Amazon is cracking down on resellers, which is another good reason why you should be working directly with brands and doing brand partnership, not just doing wholesale, which is just kind of like an arbitrage but scaled up with more volume. So what I'm planning on doing in response to all of this gating and restrictions is that I plan on moving a lot of my products to my second Amazon account. It's a really long story, and maybe I'll save that for another day because it's actually kind of funny. But essentially, I have two Amazon accounts. One account is associated with the country of Hong Kong, which I'll get into later. Has to do with an ex-girlfriend and a bunch of fiascos that went into place back then. But my second account, which is newer, is tied to the United States. And I've noticed that in the Hong Kong account, that's the account that has the most problems with getting gated and getting restricted. Whereas in my second newer account, that's tied to the US, I haven't been seeing that problem. And I'm able to apply to become ungated for the brands that I'm restricted in on my Hong Kong account. And so I'm looking to move inventory over, but I want to make sure that I'm doing it in a compliant way. So I have to now update all of my business information with my vendors, repurchase products to get new invoices so that the invoices match the products that I'm selling, and then I can begin selling through the products that were gated on the first account on the second account. Honestly, it's like a nightmare logistically because on the back end through all the accounting, I need to pay one company to another. I got to move invoices. I got to do all this stuff. It's going to be a lot of work, but you got to do what it takes to win in this industry, and I will definitely be doing that. And then the final update is that this week I was looking at my trailing 12-month revenue, and honestly, it made me pretty depressed. Every year, I keep telling myself that I'm going to break through the $1 million revenue mark, which I've been on the cusp of breaking through, but not quite breaking through. The year that I got the closest to breaking through that was 2020 during the pandemic when shopping online exploded. That year, I think I got up to $970,000 in revenue. And then since then, my revenue has kind of plateaued around $700,000. And so I've been looking at my revenue for the past 12 months, and fuck it, I'll just show it to you. I don't know if you can see this, but it's $676,000 over the past 12 months, which is a lot lower than what I was expecting us to be at. Having done wholesale for over a year now, I was definitely expecting us to be a lot further along. And obviously, I should be happy that I've done 670K in revenue over the last 12 years, which is, I guess, a lot of money. I'm just a little bit upset that, I had higher expectations and perhaps I wasn't adequately factoring in how long it takes to get launched and up and running in wholesale. There's so much initial friction in getting launched and in getting started. And maybe my expectations were a little bit too lofty. But, I'm going to keep crushing it, and I hope that Q4 is going to be one of the best Q4s of my entire time selling on e-commerce, and maybe that will help close the gap, and then in the following year I can definitely break over $1 million in revenue. All right, and to close out this video, I obviously want to share with you guys industry news and things that I've been seeing that I think are important for all of us to keep track of, because it does affect all of our businesses. Okay, the first thing is that Amazon is changing the maximum box lengths for Amazon FBA. So historically, there's been two limitations on boxes that you send into Amazon. The first is that no side of a box can exceed 25 inches, and the second is that the box weight cannot exceed 50 pounds. But starting July 20th, which was last week, they increased the maximum box length from 25 inches to 36 inches, which now means you guys can send in bigger boxes if needed to Amazon FBA. And if you guys didn't know, the cheapest way to ship into Amazon is getting your boxes to be as close to the 50-pound threshold as possible. But by Amazon increasing the maximum box length from 25 to 36 inches, it will help all of us be able to hit that 50-pound threshold and save on shipping costs. So all around, this is great news for us. The next thing that I saw come around was Amazon sending an email to everyone saying that they are no longer going to be offering FBA prep and labeling services starting January 1st, 2026. I don't know how many people actually use and trust Amazon FBA for their prep and labeling services. I personally have never done that in the 8 years that I've sold on Amazon. If you have been using their services, you're going to have to now migrate to a prep center, preferably one near your supplier so that you can save on shipping costs. And then your prep center will have to move the inventory onto Amazon for you. So that could be kind of a pain for many sellers, especially in areas where the margins are pretty thin. It might not make some of those products profitable anymore. So make sure that you guys are looking into this. If you guys are using Amazon's prep services, you will need to find an alternative by January 1st. Okay, and for the last piece of news, I want to share with you guys an email coming from Amazon, which says that on August 4th, 2025, they're going to be simplifying the seller feedback experience. Before we get into this, I want to make sure that we're on the same page here. This is not a product review. Product reviews live on the product page. This is strictly with seller feedback, which lives on the buyer's profile page. Now, historically, when buyers buy products from us, they can leave sellers a review. It includes a star rating or a number system from 1 to 5, and then they also leave a comment as well. Now, with this new update on August 4th, Amazon will be allowing buyers to only leave a star rating and not leave any accompanying text. And so what that means for us sellers is that we can probably expect our star ratings to drop across the board, and let me explain why. So the best way for me to just explain this to you is maybe show you literal reviews that I've received or feedback that I've received on my own storefront. And as you can see here, I have a bunch of reviews that have come in over the past few months. Some of them are 5 stars, some of them are 1 star. Now, historically, I've been able to strike out the 1-star reviews. And the reason why is because Amazon allows you to strike out seller feedback if it meets certain criteria. A, it has obscene language like curse words or offensive or inappropriate language. B, if it has any seller-specific personally identifiable information, so private details about the seller. C, if any part of their feedback includes a review of the product rather than a comment on the seller's service. And D, if the feedback relates to issues with fulfillment, but you had sold the product through Amazon FBA. And so you can see here on my reviews that because of those 4 criteria for striking out feedback, I've been able to strike out a bunch of 1-star feedback on my seller page. Now, if in the future I receive 1-star feedback, which is going to happen eventually, but the buyer does not include any additional text, there's no way for me to have Amazon strike out this review, even though the rationale for the buyer might have been due to one of the reasons I mentioned before. Let's say, for example, they didn't like the delivery shipping time, but it was fulfilled by FBA, and they left me a 1-star rating. Normally, I could have had that rating being stricken out, but now I would not be able to. I think that the result of this is going to be that all of our seller feedback is probably going to drop dramatically across the board. Fortunately, it's going to be for everyone and not just select people, but that is something to keep in mind. If we want to use product ratings and reviews as a benchmark, I have a product here pulled up, and it looks like it has 2,000 ratings, but only 500 reviews that have text with it. So only 1/4 of the people who rate a product leave text accompanying it. So if you extrapolate that to seller feedback, you can expect that maybe 1/4 of the feedback will have text that accompanies it, which means that you can only potentially strike out 1/4 of the negative reviews that come your way. All right, so that's pretty much all the updates I have for you guys for this week, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.